Hey guys, welcome back to one of the most amazing episodes of CEO Medium podcast. Today we have Mr. Shatnik Roy with us, who is the co-founder of HyperExchange along with Dipanjan Purkayastha and Ashish Chakraborty. He is East India's first Forbes 30 under 30, a mechanical engineer turned entrepreneur, started out of a dorm room, building HyperExchange to over several millions of dollars valuation. HyperExchange has been invested by IIM Calcutta, Microsoft, CP Gurnani, who is the CEO of Tech Mahindra, Mukesh Soni, Executive Director of JP Morgan, and several other investors. He is also the author of the classic Retreat of Anarchy and I Met the Demon. Postgraduate from Stanford University, featured over CNBC, Hindustan Times, Times of India, and several other media platforms. He was featured as a case study in PM Modi's official government manual for PM Yuva, holding over 10 plus investments across tech sectors including drones media, logistics, etc. He spoke for several media and universities including IITs and the IIMs, was hosted and honoured by the Consulate General of Scotland and Japan. Now he holds the Guinness World Records to his name too. Shatnik Roy sir, it's an honor to have you on the CEO Medium podcast. Please tell us about yourself and how you started your journey with HyperExchange and what are the challenges you faced. Please take us through everything.
Thanks, John. Thank you for having me over this platform. So we started HyperExchange years of journey, right? HyperExchange was started out of dorm room. I did my graduation in mechanical engineering from SM University Chennai, post-graduation from Stanford, right? So during my college years, I realized one thing. It was the first years and the final years had a thing in common. So while the first years are leaving their campus, while the first years have just entered their campus, final years are just leaving their campuses, right? So basically, you are looking at the same objects that the first years want, probably the books, the mattresses, so on and so forth, right? And those are the same objects the final years are looking forward to dispose of, right? Or sell it. That was the interesting part. But if you look at any college out there, be it within India or say outside, the issue is because of the ragging issues, etc. First years and the final years are probably the least connected. Right? These are the people who have just entered the college, and those are the super seniors. Right? So usually there's no much interaction between them. That was the point I realized is, how about connecting these two people? And interestingly, when we started doing that, we realized the logistical challenges, or say, for example, there are hundreds of other challenges of scaling, etc. Right? So we thought about what is one product we can focus on, and that is when we realized the highest per square inch value of any product is a mobile phone. Right? You probably can fit a 1 lakh rupee car in a garage, but a 1 lakh rupee phone fits just in your pocket. So highest per square inch value of any product is a mobile phone. That's when we focused on building HyperExchange and scaling our journey with mobile phones. Now we have increased the screen sizes. We have moved on to laptops. We have moved on to tablets. We are doing televisions, and the refurbished industry was quite an interesting phase and still is, right? So if you see today, the Indian refurbished market is around $30 billion market, and the global refurbished market is around $280 billion market, and 95% of this market is grey. That really gives you an opportunity to come into a market, something of this sort. But at the same point, we realized if there was such an opportunity in this market, why aren't the Tatas or the Ambanis really looking forward and pushing into this market? Because the market was substantial, and the presence of Amazon or the presence of Flipkart really made sense. Like, there's definitely an opportunity in this market. At the same time, when say, for example, the Tatas and the Ambanis aren't coming into this market, it actually means there's something wrong. And we figured out the part that was wrong was the part of procurement. That is, today, say for example, any person, today we live in a society where each person holds at least 2 mobile phones in their pockets, right? They have probably at least a couple of phones at home which they're not using but don't know how to dispose of or sell off. sell this off, it will be probably a shady place in your city, say Khidipur market in Kolkata, Gafar market in Delhi, so on and so forth, right? And that's when, say for example, someone just takes your phone and says, I'm going to pay you 5,000 for this product. But why 5,000? Why not 4,500? Why not 5,500? Right? That was the interesting part, and that was the challenging part. We tried to figure this out because these people are doing it on the aspect, if they procure say 100 devices, they know 70 of them are going to work, 30 are going to fail, based on the assumption they had procured last time. Right? Now, you cannot build a business based on assumptions. You have to have data, you have to have facts. That is where we created something called Faraday. Faraday is an AI-based device. We have several patents around Faraday. So, and it has several versions. It has app versions, it has an app version, it has a B2B version, a B2C version, so on and so forth. Right? The interesting fact about Faraday is you just go over there, right? It's like an ATM. You go over there, place your phone, right? The phone goes in, and the price pops out. It checks 150-point detailed checks. What is the condition of the camera? What is probably the condition of your screen, right? If there are scratches on the back or say on the screen, is it a scratch or a dent? So that's how deep we go with the valuation for this product. And this is really an interesting thing we have been doing over the years. Today, the giants, say for example, the giants like AT&T and Verizon, who procures say 1 million phones, since these are contractual in the US, right? It's also looking for a similar solution from us. Right? So that has been a very interesting play for us. The R&D is today based on University of Edinburgh and University of Strathclyde. We are now talking with the government to, probably we are looking forward how we can utilize this to reduce e-waste, right? We are utilizing this to reduce e-waste. We are looking forward how can we get more device information so that there's a better data, and say for example there's a huger information we can take access of and probably utilize.
Sir, thank you for sharing your amazing journey with us. So, sir, what were the challenges that you faced while you started HyperXchange, and how you dealt with that?
See, whenever you are moving into a new market, right? When you are trying to build a market that did not exist, there are multiple challenges. There are challenges of like everything is a challenge, right? The financial aspect, the scaling aspect, the team building aspect, first movers challenges, so on and so forth. But I believe the biggest challenge that one has to overcome in any entrepreneurial journey, or say for example whenever someone is starting a startup, biggest challenge is gaining the customer trust, right? That has been a challenge for us as well. Like someone, the sales part was really easy for us. When we are doing refurbished phones, etc. Though we have also moved on into new devices, we are now manufacturing our own branded products, etc. But when we are doing refurbish, it was no brainer for sales. The thing was like people know iPhone 12 Pro Max is a great product. Apple is already spending billions around it to market it. All we had to say, you know what, do you want to buy this at a lakh rupees, or do you want to get this at say 50,000 bucks? Right? I'll give you the same 12 months warranty. I'll give you in a sealed packed box of HyperXchange. You'll have the same box opening experience, but still the person probably thought, who HyperXchange is out there in the market today, right? So building the brand, building the trust, connecting with the customer, getting through every time, in case they had an issue, be it with ordering the product, be it with say post purchase issues, whatever it has been, there has been a lot of questions, right? So I believe that has been a challenging part, and that any and every entrepreneur has to go through, right? But that is also the most rewarding part. Once you are through that, you'll probably be sitting with John giving a podcast over here.
So, what is your future vision with your brand? Like, how do you want to give back to the society, and what is your dream about taking it to the next level?
Giving back to the society, there are a couple of things we are already doing. First and foremost thing, as said, right? Today, import for refurbish in India was not possible because, of course, government did not have control. If government did not have control for refurbish import in India, that actually meant government did not want India to become a dumping ground for e-waste. Today we are with Faraday, we are changing the story altogether. Today, when say an import is happening, people know what the import is. Right? People know what is the condition of the product. They know what are the spares that are required to upgrade this. That also really means today, if you're not buying a refurbished product, you're then buying a new product. When you're buying a new product, say 6 months down the line or a year down the line, that will be an e-waste. Right? So basically, if we can make people buy refurbished products more and more, that actually means I am reducing e-waste in this country altogether. Not just in this country, probably say even my distribution channels are today in US, Europe, and so on and so forth. So each of this country, we are actually reducing e-waste. Second, for every product we sell, we are planting a tree. My sales today are 30 products per minute. So I sell 30 products a minute today. So basically, you can well imagine at the end of the year, I'm basically creating a forest every year. Right? And my dream, how do I take this forward? Of course, as a brand, we want to grow. We want to be a global brand tomorrow. We want to be a household name tomorrow. But apart from that, I also believe in something that will be a personal challenge and say a personal growth for me. I want my employees tomorrow to go out there, sell their ESOPs. I personally have an ambition like HyperExchange will give the highest ESOPs ever in the industry, ever in the country that has ever seen, right? So I want my employees to go out there, take their ESOPs, build their own startups, employ probably say 100 more people, and create an entire say what we call the PayPal mafia, right? So that's a personal dream, and I'm looking forward to it. Probably a couple of more years maybe, but that is surely on the cards.
Yeah, real inspiration for us all. So, sir, I would also like to know, what advice or tip would you want to give somebody who want to embark on a similar journey?
An interesting thing happened lately. So I have been giving a lot of podcasts, right? I've been giving a lot of interviews over podcasts lately, and much of it has been also Instagrams and so on and so forth, right? I get questions, random questions from people, etc. Like say 16-year-old, 18-year-old saying, I want to start a startup of my own, right? What do I do? How do I start? Yesterday, someone texted me up and said, my parents are not allowing me. I said, see, that's probably the first and smallest hurdle you'll ever have. If you start a startup, the biggest thing is it's wrong to think you will probably create a successful brand overnight or even in a year. It does not happen. It will take you at least 3 to 5 grinding years to make it happen, to come at a place from where people will start recognizing you. And then in total, it will be probably a 7 years journey before you become a global brand, right? So these are a couple of things people forget. Persistence is the key. Unless you're persistent about your journey, you'll never make it up over there. And the other part about entrepreneurship is, it's like you jump off the cliff and then build your aeroplane before you hit the ground. That's entrepreneurship. You will not know everything. You cannot figure out everything. You have to jump off the cliff and then build your airplane before you hit the ground. As said, at HX, we started with a different vision. We wanted to connect the first years with the final years. But see today what we are doing. It's totally completely a different journey because that's what the customer wanted. That's where the need was, and we realized the gap. Had we not started back then thinking, say for example, there will be so many challenges out there tomorrow. No, HX would never be a story. Right? We would have never made it to Forbes. That's the journey about entrepreneurship. I believe persistence is the key. I always say about that, and it's a great journey. once you start living it, you'll start loving it.
I also truly believe in this thing that you said, persistence is a key. So that brings us to the end of the podcast. One last question before we wrap it up. So what creativity do you have in your life that keeps you going? Like, apart from being an entrepreneur, you also need something creative that motivates you to move forward. So what is that one thing that keeps you going in terms of creative?
I juggled with a lot of career options, alright, throughout my life. Alright, so there was a part of my life where I wanted to be a literature student. Right, I loved writing. 2 of my books have been published internationally. Then there was a part of my life where I wanted to be a rock star. Started a band in college. Right, produced an album. None of them sold, but anyway. Then there was a part of my life where I wanted to probably crack IAS. I realized within a week it's probably not meant for me. I believe I still juggle with ideas, be it my career options, be it new ideas I embark on, and yes, say writing or reading books has always been a passion and a love.
Thank you so much, Shatnik sir, for being with us today. It was an honor to talk with you.